Hello and welcome to episode number 8 of The Black Feather, an Ospreys rugby fancast for the fans by the fans.
Hello,
Guys,
hello.
how are we?
Yeah, good, thanks. Busy week.
Yeah?
Busy week of trying to forget about the weekend, really.
Um, Alcohol usually works, says she who doesn't drink anymore, but I
Yeah.
used to find that
Well, I've had a
alcohol when I was your
Disaronno
age
this
work.
evening. Yeah.
Nice. Used to like that with cherry coke.
I just
Um,
like it straight. It's
ooh,
so good. Nice and cold from the fridge. Few more extra cubes of ice in there. Gorgeous. Feels like Christmas every day.
Too sickly. Too sickly.
Yeah,
mm,
it is a bit much. If you want to take the edge off, you can put a shot of it in your pint of Guinness.
That
Now,
sounds better.
yeah, I could be tempted to try that. I used to put black currant in Guinness because it used to give it a really chocolatey feel. But that's as far as I went. And it always amazes me when I go to Ireland how different Guinness tastes over there.
Yeah, it does.
Isn't it really
Way
strange? You
better.
can't quite
Yeah.
put your finger on it, but it tastes different. It tastes better.
Mhm.
But Rodri's drowning his sorrows. Marc is dressed in navy stroke black, and I'm representing Ospreys again with more clothing that I've stolen off my husband. But tough weekend, guys. Tough looking at that URC table and seeing us loiter at the bottom. If we cast our minds back to 8 episodes ago, we were so young, we were so full of hope, and then our dreams got shattered.
Yeah, we all predicted a top eight finish, didn't we? I think we were going to be improving on last season, and here we are, 5 games in, bottom of the
And
table.
we're at the bottom,
However,
propping it up.
let's be positive. We are only
Yeah.
five games in. There's a lot of rugby to play this season. We've got a hell of a lot of improving to do, but there is time,
Mm,
isn't there?
Let's
yeah.
not throw the baby out with the bathwater, as my mother would say.
But it wasn't
Um,
just us. It was everybody saying the best team in Wales.
I
Yeah.
We were
know.
just the suckers who believed it.
And it was just like, we had a dream. We had a dream.
Yeah.
And that dream now is like Jamaica going to the Olympics on a bobsled. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That's what it kind of feels like. But I suppose we are only 5 games in. If we look at Munster last year, Munster did not get the greatest start to the season, did they? So if we can kind of
Do a
repeat,
Munster.
do a Munster, yeah.
Well,
Um,
Scarlets fans keep on going on about the last time they won the league as well. Didn't they lose the first 4 games or something and then went on to win the league?
yeah,
We've heard
and then
about
went
that
on to
done
win
about a
it.
million times this last couple of weeks as well.
I
So
um I was actually in MacArthur Glen on Saturday and I was in Hotel Chocolate and a guy walked in with a scarlet shirt on and I had like a Ospreys hoodie on and we kind of looked at each other over the chocolate and I went, as much as it pains me, well done last night.
Mm.
I just kept seeing him then everywhere I went around MacArthur Glen and he said, I'm not haunting you, I promise. I was
Yeah.
just I can't take it. It's absolutely paining me to say well done, but well done.
He
Um
was a figment of your imagination, you know. That
yeah.
was just
you did
torment. That was psychological torment.
what was that Disney film where the guy had the dragon that wandered around? Was it Pete's Dragon?
He's
Or there
dragging,
was the
yeah.
Pete's Dragon, or there was the film with what's his face from It's a Wonderful Life, and he had the fake rabbit. Was it Harvey the Rabbit?
No, I don't know that one.
James. It'll come back to me later anyway. But it was the guy who James Stewart, Jimmy Stewart. Famous film from the 30s where he had Harvey the Rabbit and followed him around. Um, but
We've just
I
got
think he was real.
we the Scarlets fan or whatever his name is following me around instead.
Yeah, yeah. Stefan the Scarlets fan. Um, but I suppose that leads us nicely into, I think we should get it out of the way and get the URC roundup out of the way. I did promise you a jingle last week, but to be honest with you, I've been so depressed I've not been able to come up with one.
No, it would have been more of
So
a kind of a funeral march or something rather than a
do,
this week
do,
maybe after the
do,
rugby.
do, 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 do. Oh no, that's not
That's
the
a
funeral
Star Wars
march.
one.
That's Star Wars. That's Spitfire. Oh my god. Can you tell we're geeks in our house? But yeah, more like that,
Yeah, would have
Um,
been a bit
find your
grim,
lack of faith disturbing. It could be the Darth Vader thing about all our fans in it.
yeah.
But let's roll into that URC roundup then, Mark.
Well, let's start then by giving the Scarlets their due for Friday night. it was a really gutsy performance, I thought, by the Scarlets. The Bulls started strong. They scored a try in the first minute and they length of the field try by Moody straight away. And you thought the Bulls are on it again like they were
Mm.
against us the week before. They'd have tried to sell out and I think soon after that as well. And you sort of feared for the Scarlets at that point. Um, and they were under the cosh, they were 19-7 down at half time. But they dug in. I think that's the difference. Whereas we capitulated against the Bulls when they put that pressure on us, the Scarlets dug in and kept it just about close enough by half time. And then, to be fair, second half they turned the game around completely. Blair Murray finished his try really, really well, showed really good strength to finish his try. And then Tom Rogers, he sidestepped Arenza and Moody to get over the line. Two of the most skillful players on the field, and good defensive players as well. Yeah, I couldn't quite believe it really, and a lot of Bulls fans were getting sort of a bit salty online about this about the sending off, and you can again argue the merits of that sending off. But I think, to be honest, even sort of without that, I think the Scarlets still would have won that game. I think they were in the ascendancy by that point. I think the sending off was about 67th minute, something like that. I mean, red cards. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's a yellow, what's a red anymore. I mean, that one didn't look as dangerous as some of the other challenges that got put in
No,
on the weekend, but he was upright, and they've got their protocols and everything to go through. But I don't know. It's just a lottery at the minute what a red card is and what it isn't. I mean, the Bulls one from the previous week got rescinded when he forearm smashed one of our players in the
yeah.
jaw.
Mm.
I still don't get that. And like the staffers can give me as much hate as they want online. Um, you know, I genuinely don't care. For me, that was a red card all day long under the letter
Yeah,
of the law. And I think there really needs to be some consistency because I think loads of stuff that I've seen online is it's just so inconsistent, not just with reds and yellows, but with
yeah,
decisions across the board.
yeah. Well,
Standards have got to improve.
I think every single game this weekend, there was a lot of supporters from every single club complaining
Yeah.
about the refereeing in their game. Whether they'd
Yeah.
won the game, lost the game, red cards, yellow cards, just general decisions, TMO decisions, all sorts of things. Just everybody's unhappy with the standard
Mm.
of refereeing generally, I think. And like you said, that inconsistency. However, I don't think it was the main deciding factor in this game with the Scarlets. I think they deserved the win. They sort of dug in, like I said, and yeah, okay, a little bit of squeaky bum at the end, and you can see Dwayne Peel was very relieved to get over the line, as were the 250 Scarlets fans that were inside the stadium as well.
Mm.
I had to get my cheeky dig into the Scarlets fans that
Yeah.
have been so empty at Parker Scarlets on Friday night.
Can't
Maybe
give
they'll
them
Yeah.
too much, can we really?
maybe they'll turn up in force next weekend for the Zebra game now that they're on the up, maybe. But
Mm. Mm.
no,
But
but
they
to be
are
fair,
on the up, aren't they?
they're looking at very
It,
different
it's
propositions.
it's marked improvements every week, and I'm a little bit envious.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, you can see. I think we'll come to our game later on, but you can see what the Scarlets are trying to do. You can see the identity of how they're trying to play, um, and we haven't got that at the moment, and hopefully we'll turn things around.
Hmm.
Moving on to Saturday. So I was probably one of very few people that watched the Zebra Lions game Saturday lunchtime. It was a really good game. The conditions were absolutely abysmal. It was one of those where the players were running and there was spray coming up all over the place and the ball was landing in pools of water. Proper sort of old school conditions for winter. Um, both teams, to be fair, tried to play a bit. It did become a bit of an arm wrestle as the game went on. And the Lions showed that they've got that strength in that side of their game as well. So far this year they've played a lot of attractive rugby, but on Saturday because of the conditions and the way Zebra were sort of trucking it up the forwards all the time, they had to stand up a bit more in sort of up front, and they got the win. They're still 100%. Zebra played the conditions, to be fair, really well. I think Zebra's going to be a tough place to go this season. I think they're not, they're not going to travel well, but I think at home and especially when conditions are a little bit like that, and they're going to be a tough destination for any team to go to. But the Lions got over the line. I mean, Zebra missed a kick with about a quarter of an hour to go, which ultimately might have won them the game. That would have put them ahead 12-10. But the Lions got over the line and they're still 100% going into the
Mm.
weekend.
Didn't look
Um,
like a thrilling one from the score, though, really.
it was
I
okay.
didn't watch it.
It was a better game than the score suggests. I actually quite enjoyed it. Whether it was because it was Saturday lunchtime, I was quite chilled, had a quite late breakfast and whatever, and it was just sort of a nice way to start a Saturday afternoon, maybe. But
Yeah,
if it had been the
another
last game of
feeling.
the day, I may not have enjoyed it so much, maybe. But
Yeah, yeah. Was it a tactical decision by by Zebra to turn down try opportunities because they only kicked 3 pens, didn't they?
yeah, they
Or
did.
were they just forced into that situation?
Yeah, they sort of went for the posts a few times. So they missed a couple of kicks to the post as well. They did kick into the corner a few times to try and sort of get that driving ball going as well.
Mm,
But to be fair, the Lions defense stood up well to the zebra, to the zebra pack.
hmm.
Showed good strength up front themselves as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, decent game. I think let's say Zebra would be tough to beat at home, definitely.
Mhm.
Moving on to the two games that I highlighted last weekend, the two South African teams going home. Sharks in Glasgow, first of all. As expected, the Sharks looked a lot better at home, especially with their Springboks all back as well. Really powerful performance by them. Glasgow kept it tight for long periods of the game, to be fair. They sort of stuck in there, stayed in the game. Um, and Sharks had the game won 3 minutes to go, I think, and they were 28-12 up. And really, sort of the highlights of this game for Glasgow certainly all happened in the last 3 minutes because they scored a try just heading into injury time, and then from the kickoff, scored a length of the field try to get a try bonus point and a losing bonus point. All in one hit. So it showed great character from Glasgow because they were beaten by that point. But to get those two tries to pick up the two bonus points, I think they'll be happy to leave. Um, where did the Sharks play? Durban?
Yeah,
Durban, yeah, they'd be happy to
think
leave Durban
so.
2 points definitely. Because the Sharks did play well. They looked more powerful. They looked more like the Sharks we were expecting to see. Maybe they said we all thought they'd be an improved team this year. And certainly at home and certainly with all their Springboks back, they looked a very different proposition to what they did against the Dragons a few weeks before as well. And then Stormers Munster was another really good game, tea time on Saturday. Really physical, good quality matchup between the two teams. Munster again kept it really, really close. Gave Stormers a really, really good game. They'd be really disappointed to come away with nothing in the end. The Stormers just nudged out of bonus point range, just with about 2-3 minutes to go, and then they got an intercept as Munster were pushing to try and get a try at the end themselves. Yeah, Munster looked really good, to be fair. They really fronted up to the Stormers, and the Stormers will be pleased to get away with a win. But Munster were disappointed to come away with the game with nothing. Edinburgh Cardiff on Saturday afternoon. A bit of a weird game this really. Both teams were trying to play, it was sort of both teams throwing the ball around a lot. Edinburgh were in control. It was sort of end to end. Again, a bit like the Scarlets, Cardiff sort of dug in. They were under pressure for long periods of the game, but they took their chances when they came. And just made life difficult for Edinburgh, which is about as much as they could do really on Saturday, was try and keep the score down, try and keep the game close. Edinburgh were always in sort of control throughout, really, and they got the win they deserved in the end. I think the worry for us on Saturday, Edinburgh look a good team. They've got a good pack of forwards. They sort of rested a few. They sort of rotated a bit on Saturday as well, which is again worrying for us because are they going to bring those players back in again for the game against us at Bridgend on Saturday?
Mm,
They're a dangerous team, and I think after the horrific start they had with the awful run of fixtures, the Leinster Bulls, whoever else in the first 3 or 4 games. Again, they're now looking more like you'd expect Edinburgh to look. And I know we'll preview the game against them on the weekend in more detail later. But yeah, they were quite impressive on Saturday. I say Cardiff dug in, but Edinburgh were in control throughout, really, and deserved the win.
mm. They're a strange team this season. I don't really know what to make of them. Um, I don't know who's going to turn up week to week, and it's going to get even harder for them in international windows. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, they're almost one of the bigger banana skins out there in
Yeah,
that
they've got
sense.
quite a bit more strength in depth, I think, than the Welsh teams have, certainly. I think they've got a bigger
Mm,
squad to pick from.
yeah.
And I think they will cope maybe better with those absentees than maybe the Welsh teams will.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
well,
used to playing without them, aren't they?
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, just
They've got 11 internationals and they've got my boy Duan, um, you know,
yeah,
Van der Merwe,
yeah.
Kirby, that was just for you. Um, the yeah, I think they have got a very strong team packed with internationals.
Mm.
So I think necessarily looking at where they are in the table and what they're doing at the minute is perhaps not a true reflection. We know that they've not had great results, but then
But they scored 4 tries in the second half coming from behind.
Yeah,
Just goes to show the strength that they had on that bench that day. I think they had quite two or maybe three Scotland starting
yeah,
internationals on their bench. I think Pierre Schoeman was on the bench, so was Van
it
der
was, yeah.
Merwe. Um,
What a
was
weapon to bring off the bench
Darcy
as well.
Graham was starting, I think, wasn't he?
oh,
But
He did start,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think
thank
they're a
God they've
team on
got
the
it
up,
there.
unfortunately for us, and they'll want to finish strong. I think that first half against the Bulls, not against the Bulls, against the Lions when they were 48 down at half time, I think they had
Wouldn't
a
have seen
real.
that coming
I
back.
I think they had a real rollicking after that game. They came back much stronger in that second half, and they've been a different team since
Hmm,
then.
yeah.
Moving on then to Saturday evening. So yeah, Connacht were brushed aside really by Leinster. I don't know what more we can say about Leinster, to be honest. They just look so powerful across the pitch,
They look good.
whatever 15 they put out. Um, you almost think they're going to be invincible this year, really. I can't see how they could be beaten unless they go into a period where they're resting players with Europe in mind or internationals or whatever. But even then, they've got such strength and depth in that squad. I can't see where their weaknesses really are, to be honest.
Just stop there, Mark. Say that again. I'll record it and we can just replay that every week as our little insight on Leinster because it is
You
going to be
might
the
as
same
well.
week on week, isn't
You might as
it?
well.
I
I mean,
actually thought something was really wrong then. I was like, what's going on? It's
but
getting stitched
Sorry.
in with them now, though, isn't it?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Connacht weren't in the game really. I mean, Leinster had again, it was tough sort of conditions, high winds at Galway as they often are. Leinster had the wind with them in the first half and built a decent lead. It was 21-7 or something at half time. And then second half, you're expecting Connacht to come back into it. And much like us against Munster, really, they just never recovered from that half time. And Leinster built on their lead and, we're in ascendancy throughout, really. And yeah, they've got maximum points so far this season. Having looked, ironically, that first game against Connacht, I can't remember, it was the RDS, it was at Leinster, wasn't it? Was the closest they've been pushed this season so far. And otherwise, they've romped their way through. Really. I mean, Snyman again was an absolute beast. Um, they've just got so much talent across the field that, you know, yeah, just wish I'd been born in Dublin somewhere to be able to enjoy the success of being a Leinster fan, maybe. Dragons Benetton. So Dragons 21, Benetton 31. Yeah, Dragons will be disappointed. Obviously, they've had three home games now consecutively, didn't win any of them. And unfortunately for them in this one, they weren't really in a position ever to win the game. I think Benetton tactically outmaneuvered the Dragons really in their sort of kicking game. And the Benetton forwards really sort of stepped up and sort of controlled the game as well on Saturday. The Dragons seem to lose their way a little bit. I think the last couple of games, maybe the disappointment of just missing out in those two previous home games, maybe was a stretch too far for them to sort of raise themselves to do it again. Um, Benetton controlled the territory. They sort of pressured the Dragons with their sort of tactical kick in second half. And the worrying thing for the Dragons now is they haven't got a home game again until Boxing Day. They've sort of blown their chances potentially of some wins that would have propelled them up the table and given them a bit of breathing space to 15th and 16th. And the worry for them now is the fixtures they've got coming up and the fact they haven't got many homes. I think they've only got 3 or 4 home games left now the entire season. It's worrying times enough for them that they haven't taken the chances when they were available to them. And I
Yeah.
think
Just against us.
just against us, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a stronger performance from Lloyd Evans though, which was pleasing to see because I think he struggled in these opening fixtures so far.
yeah,
Seemed to impose himself a little bit more on the game. Obviously, he got to try himself and kicked a couple of difficult conversions as well. So,
yeah.
yeah, it was nice to see him just become a little bit more confident in that role. Obviously, he's learning the team around him. And getting synced up with how they play, and that's always going to take a little bit of time. But I think he's a good little player.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
definitely.
so it was nice to see him progress there.
Yeah. I think Benetton are probably now looking more like we expected them to look beginning of the season, a strong pack.
Mm.
I think they've sort of shown improvement the last couple of games, definitely, and they'll be targeting a strong finish now to end this first set of games as well. And
Yeah, for a moment there, they made us think that they were going back to old ways, but
yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, it seems like they're sort of right in themselves now, and yeah, I think they're going to kick on. Ones to watch.
Definitely. Which only leaves our game, but before we move on to the Ulster Ospreys game, just my game to watch this weekend. There's a really good set of
Mm.
fixtures to be honest this weekend. There's some really, really good games. Um, the one I've picked out really, I think, because they're both unbeaten, is Leinster Lions. We know what Leinster can do, but we'll find out now whether the Lions are the real deal. Whether they've had a kind fixture list to start the season, or whether they are true contenders. I think you can't go anywhere harder than Leinster to prove that. And if they can be competitive and keep things close on Saturday, then they may be one to watch for the rest of the season. If they get blown away like everybody else does, then maybe they'll fall back into the pack, and maybe we've been fooled a little bit by the start they've had to the season. So that should be an interesting game. But I say lots of really, really good games this weekend.
Yeah, there are actually. I'm
100%.
just flicking through the list for the first time. Benetton Bulls in Benetton.
Yeah.
That could be really interesting, couldn't it? Yeah, Cardiff, Ulster. They're all exciting games there. Looking forward to
It's
this
a
weekend.
tasty weekend. It is
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
tasty weekend.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously we've touched a little bit on Edinburgh, but we have got them this weekend at Brewery Field. Now, Brewery Field is traditionally, oh, I don't want to say the L word. The rub of the grass is usually with us then when we're at Brewery Field. I don't know whether it's the atmosphere, the sound, the noise, support, or whether some teams just don't like coming to an old-fashioned
Mm.
grass, for want of a better phrase,
Mm.
pitch. But we've mentioned that they've got a really strong squad. That you can't doubt them. They've got the likes of Hamish Watson in their pack at the front, and then you've got your likes of Duan at the back. Just two players. Never mind the rest of them. Um, we're obviously going into international season, as are they. And we've got an injury list, which 40% of our play, well, say injury list, there's a lot of speculation online whether the people included on the injury list are being rested as a result of being called up for Welsh duty, or are they actually injured? Um, but thoughts on heading into this Edinburgh game, because I think we as fans need something
Mm.
to pin our hopes on.
Mm.
And again, this is not calling out any players. It's been a tough first five. It
Mm.
has, and the injuries aren't helping. But we kind of need a little glimmer of hope. I think Keelan's try,
Yeah.
Friday night was beautiful. We
Yeah.
all like I hold Keelan in a lot of stead. And it was a lovely try. It was lovely finished. So I think if we can see a little bit more of that, for me,
Mm.
I'll be happier. I'll also be happy if I can grab a selfie with Duan. I'm not gonna lie,
Mm.
putting it out there.
I think it's
Yeah.
down to performance again, isn't it? We said last week against
Mm.
Ulster we were looking for a performance that would show that there was improvement and there was hope for the rest of the year. I think as soon as we saw the squad, the kind of likelihood of that happening decreased. However, we can't keep on being blown away in the first 20 minutes by teams. We
No,
talked about it before. And that's
Yeah.
the difference, I think, watching the Scarlets game on the weekend, watching the Cardiff game on the weekend, both of those teams really dug in, Dragons to an extent as well. When they're under pressure, they keep the game close, they stay in the game. Whereas at the minute, by the time the first 20-25 minutes is gone, the game's over for us. And there's all
Mm.
very
yeah,
well then saying, oh, we played
you
better
can't pull
second
it
half.
back.
It doesn't matter if we play second half better when you're down 25-0, 26-0, 28
Yeah,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Um, it's too late by then. So we've got to show something from the start. We've got to start on the front foot,
yeah, and
preferably.
the stats are in our favour. Looking at the stats that I I saw earlier on, then out of 33 games, we've won 20, they've won 13. Tries 85 to their 72, points 816 to us. I don't want to say it, 666 to Edinburgh, which kind of fits really with it being Halloween weekend, but we hope it's not a fright night. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to add too much to that. So looking at it, then
I think it's now or never, really. We need that kick up the bum now before going into the
all right,
autumn
Elvis.
internationals window. That wasn't intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we're going into the international window. We just need that positive mentality coming out the other side of it. If we go in now off the back of another loss, I think the boys' heads are gonna dip and
stop.
the fans' heads are gonna follow. We just need something, and it's a great opportunity. I didn't realize listening to the rap podcast earlier, James Reese said that
Yeah,
Scotland are going playing their first international a week before we play our first one.
yeah.
I didn't realize that. So that's 7 days after Edinburgh Ospreys
Yeah.
on the weekend. So potentially we might not see as many or maybe even all of those Scottish internationals if they need to be rested for international duty.
Yeah, a few
So
of them were rested
that
last weekend as well. So whether they've rotated between the two games, between the Cardiff
Yeah.
hours, and rotated
yeah.
some this week, some this week, so maybe a bit of a mix and match again, a bit like the Cardiff
So
game.
if that's what they're doing, then we're going to see Doohan starting, Schoeman starting, maybe Graham on the bench.
Mm.
Um, who else on the bench there? I can't think. But I doubt we're going to see that full outfit
Not going to be
of
full
Scottish
front.
internationals. So it could be a good opportunity for us to steal that scalp.
The reality is, when you look at the table, we're 16th, they're six, they won two, we've won one. The difference is the points scored.
Mm.
They've capitalised and put points on the board, which has kept them in that top eight of the table, which is where we want to be. Um, and I think when you break it down like that, it doesn't sound so bad. But as we've said the last couple of weeks, it's that killer instinct. It's that capitalization of putting points on the board when you can. And sometimes I think we show a little bit of lack of ambition when we can put ourselves in better positions in the field to get the try rather than the points. Um, and we give stuff away. But then likewise, we also don't take the easy points and kick for goal and get the points when we should. And I know that's really easy for us to sit here and say that because we're not the ones on the field making the decision. But I think there just needs a little bit more leadership and a little bit more thought about where are we in the game? What do we need to do? Do we keep the ball ticking over? Do we just put balls to the wall and just go for it?
I think we've kind of lost that identity a little bit, haven't we? I think
Yeah.
last season we wouldn't have been okay. There were the odd exception where we shipped a lot of points, but in the majority of games we were in every single game until late in the game, and
Mm.
sometimes we won them, sometimes we lost them. We were always in the games, picked up bonus points or whatever, and it was obvious to see what the tactics were, what our style of play was, what we were trying to do, and I think that's the worry at the moment. Is it's difficult to tell what it is we're trying to achieve, what our targets are, what our tactics are, what our identity is, and we seem to have lost our
No
way.
game doesn't seem like there's a consistent game plan to me.
No.
There's no
Mm.
kind of defined, like in American football, you've got your playbook. You kind of know what your teams
Mm.
are gonna do. If I can just say this, because I know John will be listening tomorrow. Chiefs Kingdom, baby. Sorry, he's a 49ers fan and I'm a Chiefs fan. And obviously they played on Sunday and my boy Mahomes, you know, did it. But I'm just
This is
saying
a
Chiefs
rugby
Kingdom.
podcast.
I
What a
know, but
glory
still,
seeker
you've
is all I
got
can
to keep
say.
this rivalry going. I'm a lover of all sports apart from snooker, darts, and golf. Um, but I think we need to see something on Saturday. I'm not going to lose faith just yet. I'm gonna, as Bon Jovi said, keep the faith. But Do be sad.
Yeah.
Should have Max
As well.
Bison in now as well, followed up by by
Yeah, as
Bon
well said, it
Jovi.
feels like a big one, doesn't it? Saturday feels
It
like
is.
a
It's
must win
yeah,
almost,
Yeah.
to get that momentum going into the international break.
yeah,
Because, we're not going to have everybody back straight after the international break. We've only got, I know we've only got 5 players in the squad, but a lot of
yeah,
them are going
Mm.
to play the majority of the minutes in those Wales games. So they're going to have an automatic 3 week break or whatever it is after the
yeah.
international break. So we're not going to
Yeah.
see some of those players for, 6, 7 weeks.
6, 7 weeks, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we've then got the Scarlets on the 21st of December, which is a home game for us at the Swansea.com. I cannot face being in that stadium and
Mm.
losing. I can't. I literally can't. I will cry. Like,
Mm.
I don't cry a lot, but that would make me cry. That would make me sad. Um, so if we can just have a little something, something, I'd be happy. Yeah. And if
That's
not,
all
me
we
and my
want.
sister will hag it out at the end of the game, Rhod, yeah? Cry in a
Yeah, yeah.
corner.
Deal.
Um,
Guys,
but
I'm gonna have to ditch out on you. My partner's just rang and her brakes have seized on the side of the road, so she needs picking up in Cardiff. So I'm
oh
gonna
my
have to
God,
Oh
bail.
my goodness me, right.
you better go and rescue my girl, Amy.
I'll
So
I'll
sweet.
I'll, I'll go rescue her. Can you guys wrap up without me?
Of course we
We're
can, my little
mad.
prince.
Put
Let
Okay.
us
us
in the
know she's
whole
all right.
Gatland Wales conspiracy to chat.
I know.
Yeah,
Okie
I know, I
dokie.
know. I was excited to partake in that, although we've been having good discussion on Twitter all day with listeners of the
Various
pod and
people.
other Ospreys fans, so that's
Yeah.
been really good. But yeah, message me when you're finished and I can get somebody to come and pause the
Do the
end the
do.
recording on this.
Do the
Um,
do.
cheers, guys.
Bye, babes.
All the
Stay
best.
safe.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
And then there were two.
And then a blank
Just the
screen.
two of us. We can make it if we try. Listen, me and you have not done this together by
We've not
ourselves
done a
before.
duo before, have we? No, we haven't.
No,
There we go.
just the two oldies left now, left.
May not want him
No,
back after this, you never know.
no. Be like, you fired from the band, Rod. We've replaced you. Be like wet, wet, wet without Marty Pello. Um, so good news, you and I have been talking about women's rugby
Yeah,
today as well. So before we get onto the Welsh squad, fixtures, the pool is out, and the fixtures have um, been announced, and not a bad little pool, really. We've got Scotland, obviously, a bit of a niggle between me and him downstairs.
yeah.
Um, he's been here 18 years now, and he's still convinced he's Scottish.
No, I should just
What
give
do you
up now.
think?
Yeah, just give
It's
up now.
not like under rules. He's qualified to play for us now.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Um, we've got Fiji and we've got Canada. Now, God
Yeah.
bless the Canucks. They're not that great at everything, but the Fijis look frigging scary.
Yeah.
Um, some lovely games, and you said ticket prices are really reasonable, didn't you? 10,
They
10
are.
quid for a
Yeah.
double header.
Yeah. Well, it's a tenner. It's a tenner to stand. So I
Oh,
don't think my knees will take standing for 2 games. But yeah, it's great they're doing the double headers.
yeah,
They've got 2 games. So two of the Wales games are up in Salford, which is not
nice.
far away from here. And they're both double headers. I think it's 10 quid to stand and then 15 or 20, I think, for sitting. So really good value. It's good that they're marketing it to families to try and fill the
Yeah,
stadium and stuff as well. I think the group's tricky. I mean, Canada are second ranked in the world just after England. I mean, England are miles and miles and miles ahead of everybody now, aren't they, in those
yeah,
rankings. So
an
Canada should
island.
win the group. It'll be that opening game against Scotland. That's our path to the second phase of
Yeah,
matches. It's going to be us or them, really. Fiji should be
yeah,
the sort of fourth best team. So that first game
yeah.
against Scotland is going to be the one to win, really. And yeah,
And the good thing is, anybody who's in South Wales, Transport for Wales does a direct train to Manchester.
well, there we are then.
And you can, if you book far enough in advance, you can get like a return for 32, 36 quid.
I'll see you there.
Um, plenty of loads, and it's easy. Manchester's so easy with the trams and stuff. So to
Definitely.
get out to Salford is quite simple. I worked in Manchester for a little while when I was much younger, and I really like Manchester as a city, and just getting around and getting to Salford and stuff is really easy, really easy. So if you wanted to go up for a little weekend, you can find somewhere really central to stay in, like Premier Inn or whatever. And I think you can get the rooms in central Manchester for like 40 odd quid.
Yeah, definitely.
So it could be a nice outing for
Yeah,
people.
definitely. And hopefully with it being further north as well, it's an opportunity for us fans that are a little bit further north to see
Yeah.
international game, reasonably close to us as well, rather than
Yeah.
trying to go to Cardiff all the time. So
And I've still got friends there. So if I wanted to, I could just kind of go and visit, if I'm being
exactly.
honest. But yeah, be interesting to see that. And it's lovely to see the women's game getting the attention that it deserves. I'm all for being um, a feminist. I think everybody should be a feminist, including you guys. Um, but that leaves us then on to the Welsh squad announcement, which took place yesterday. 35-man squad, 19 forwards, 16 backs. Scores on the doors, really, as expected, was 7 Blues, 7 Scarlets, 4 from Dragons, 5 from Ospreys. Then we've got 2 from Leicester. Exeter, Bath, and Saracens have contributed 1, and we've got 4 from Gloucester. So is
Yeah,
Gloucester going to be the new Welsh region?
it looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, they've got as
Yeah,
many as us, haven't they? So, yeah, interesting squad. I think Gatland's comments on the weekend about that the squad's not going to be all about him, that he's not going to
yeah,
bring back the old guard and everything else. I think the players he's brought back in are the ones we expected to see back in. I don't think he's brought anybody back that wasn't necessarily expected to be seen in this squad. Um, some interesting new faces in there as well. But start off with an old face, really. I think the one that's everybody seems happiest to see back in there is probably Nikki Smith.
Nicky Smith.
Yeah,
So pleased, so pleased.
it.
Um,
I mean, it has led to some conspiracies, some conspiracy theories around why he wasn't getting picked when he was with the Ospreys. He goes and joins Leicester, and he's straight back
Leicester
into
and
the
he gets
squad.
picked, but then I've got as we know, I'm a bit of a sports head, so I've got like the sports channels, and I've been watching Harlequins, my Prem team, but I have got a soft spot for Leicester, and some of the shifts that he's put in for
Yeah,
Leicester so far this season, that is a cap that is really well deserved. Um, Dewi as captain, very, very happy with that. But I'm kind of wondering what happened with the co-captaincy with Jack, whether Jack's just come back from
Hmm.
injury and needs to concentrate on playing. And I don't know whether it's that, but I'm not mad at Dewi being captain. I think he's a leader. I've said that in the last couple of weeks. Um, but no mega surprises there for me. Yes, there are some omissions that I think we made. All the debate over Nagy, and he's not there. And Scum,
I think Anscombe will start. I think again going back to the Prem, I
I
think
do, but I just don't
he,
like him as a
uh,
player.
he, he has had a good start of the season. Him and Thomas was
Yeah,
together for Gloucester have been pulling up trees, and I think we haven't got that strength at 10 at the minute. I mean Ben Thomas played 10 in
no,
the summer. He isn't a 10, and he's not getting regular 10 games for Cardiff. Gatland was bigging him up on Scrum 5 yesterday, saying he's the best
yeah,
back in Wales, Ben Thomas, but also hinting that the fact that he might play 12 rather than 10, which I think is
yeah,
probably where he needs to play. If that's where he's playing week in, week out for Cardiff, that's
yeah.
where he needs to
You can't
play.
just shove someone in randomly. We're not,
No.
New Zealand. We're not creating utility players who will shove them on the field and play anywhere, which is a debate for another day.
Yeah, but I think in
Um,
terms of the Ospreys players, I wasn't expecting anybody else. I think probably the two that can maybe feel, or it was always going to be one of the two, maybe Kieran Hardy
yeah,
and Ruben Morgan Williams. I think they're probably
yeah,
the two that maybe we're expecting to see one of those in the squad. Hardy was in the squad in the summer. Ruben seems to be the next to step up
yeah,
potentially. But instead, we've gone for Rodri Williams, who hasn't played an international game for 10 years, who's getting on a bit. He isn't the future. And
no,
maybe it shows that Gatland hasn't got much faith in sort of Ruben Morgan
bringing
Williams
the youngsters
potentially, that he
through.
doesn't see the potential in him, doesn't think that he's an international player, maybe. But that he's brought somebody back after 10 years who's not going to be around for much longer on the international scene. But it's a shame, it would have been a good chance to blood somebody like Ruben
This
into
is
that squad.
this is where I get annoyed because seen lots of comments online about, oh, they're just a good regional rugby player. How do you know that if you don't bring them onto the international stage?
Yeah.
You
And this
don't,
is
you don't, you
and
don't,
this
you don't
and
know
I,
that.
yeah, and I think this is where we miss the A team structure as well. I think, when you have
Yeah,
the A team in place, a lot of these kids could get international experience playing at A level. And then that transition through then to full international was so much easier. And
you,
I think
you're
losing
part of the
those
structure.
internationals, yeah,
You've
losing
got a
those
pathway.
internationals have been massive, because there's a massive step from URC to international.
And again, something we could probably learn from NFL, and sorry to bring it round to that, but they've got the player pathways.
Yeah, exactly.
They've got their practice squads, they've got
Yeah,
everything else where, you know, you've got the talent there. You're not, and okay, I know NFL is very, very different from rugby, but the structure that they've got is you're not good enough yet. So you be on this practice
yeah,
squad and you play week in, week out against these guys who are,
yeah,
the bomb.com, and then we'll give you a shot. And if it works out, you can rotate out of the practice squad and everything else.
yeah,
It's the same with international rugby. If we do not bring these young players on, you know, and expose them to not just the other more experienced players in the opposition, the media scrutiny, we've got to make physically resilient players, but mentally resilient players as well. Lots of talk online about players retiring because of the toll it's taking on their mental health and everything else. We need to protect and give them the media training and give them the resilience training,
yeah.
because you can be as physically fit as you want, but if you're not right, you're not going to perform on the field, because it's all got to click, it's all got to come together.
Definitely.
Um,
And
you
I've heard
know,
that commented about sort of Dewi being captain quite a bit this week. It's not just how he led the team on the pitch, but it's how
it's
he led
off.
the team off the pitch as well. And I think that was noted by people who were, behind the scenes within the
Yeah,
squad setup and things, how much of a leader he is within that squad,
yeah,
and how much he values that captaincy role, not just during those 80 minutes, but, 24/7.
yeah, around it. And I do think he is, from all the conversations, that he is always happy to stop and speak to you. He is always happy to have a picture. You know, I think I said on one of the first podcasts, he did me a voice note for my manager when we were going up to Gloucester and managed to get me the day off. And he was lovely. And to command that level of respect and to be that nice, because, I've come across players off the field who are not that great with the fans. And I get it. You're in a position, you may not want to be bothered, you may not whatever, but that is the position that you're in.
Yeah,
Um, you know, as a lawyer, nobody's going to stop me walking down the street today. Then they're not. But you kind of know when you sign up to be within that public eye, that's kind of hand in hand.
yeah,
And you would hope that people are mindful and wouldn't come up to you while you're having your Sunday lunch with your kids and, whatever. But if you're in the club, or you're wandering around, then you kind of need to have that. And he's got such a lovely nature about him, and you can see why people follow him. Anybody can like manage. I don't think there's many people who can lead, and
no,
that's
not
what you
there, yeah.
need on the field, as a leader, someone who you're prepared to go over the top for.
Yeah, and I think he'll benefit a lot as well. Some of the more experienced players coming back into this squad, the likes of Thomas Williams, Jack Morgan,
Yeah,
Beard. There's some big names with lots of caps coming back into the squad from the summer.
yeah,
I think, for Derry as captain, having those experienced voices in all positions across the field, really, to lead some of these youngsters through. We're likely to see people like, Max Llewellyn possibly,
mm,
and he started well again at Gloucester, and I was talking about Gloucester again. Um, you know, he may well be seen. There's some good youngsters coming into the squad as well. The Scarlet Wingers coming in.
mm.
What's the New Zealand chap? I can't remember I've forgotten his name now. Blair Murray.
Blemery,
That's an exciting
deserved
addition
cap,
into the squad.
a very deserved cap.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's had a really good start to the year, and I think, hopefully we'll see a little bit of him as well. I
yeah,
think I'm sort of hoping that we're moving away a little bit from Gatland bashball. What he was talking about with possibly Ben Thomas playing at 12 would suggest that we're looking to have two playmakers at 10 and 12, which would
yeah,
a big transition for what we've been used to the last couple of seasons,
Yeah,
and then maybe play a bigger guy at 13. We haven't got any natural 13s really, apart from Llewellyn. All
yeah.
the centres are playing 12 pretty much. So
And we like a little bit of flair in Welsh rugby, don't we? We like to see those flying backs.
yeah,
And we do like to see that. It'd be nice to see Cam win it as well, because again, I think that's pretty much a deserved
yeah.
cap for me. First fixture up, we've got Fiji on the 10th of November. That's going to be a bit of a bruiser because those lads are big, and they,
Yeah.
Then we've got Australia followed by South Africa. Australia, I suppose after the Rugby World Cup, we're in their head a little bit, living there rent free. They're going to want some coinage back for that.
Yeah.
Um, and then South Africa, wow.
I mean, the squad they've picked today, they've gone full barrel to
I
come
know.
to come up north. They're not resting on their laurels
They're
at
not
all.
playing, are they?
They've picked
They've,
every single player you'd expect them to be
they
in that
come to
squad.
slay.
No rest.
Um,
And yeah, I mean, poor planning by the WRU as well. We've got Australia on the Sunday and then South
yeah,
Africa the following Saturday. So we've got a short turnaround
6
before we
days
play the World
turnaround.
Champions. The Australian game is going to be bruising enough, or the Fiji game in itself is going to be bruising enough. And we've got a 7 day
Oh,
turnaround to Australia, then a 6 day turnaround to South Africa. And I know a lot of that's dictated by TV and probably everything else as well.
yeah,
But it'll be interesting to see how they structure the squad because normally there's one game within the autumn where they blood a lot of new caps,
yeah,
less experienced players. With the structure of these matches, you almost need that Fiji game to be a proper full-blooded warm-up for
yeah,
that first team to
yeah.
be taking on
Good
Australia
run
the
out.
following week. So we may not see a huge amount of squad rotation throughout the autumn. I think we're likely to see, certainly from the Fiji game to the Australia game, a strong team in that Fiji match.
Yeah,
Somebody did mention today the England players don't come and join up with the squad until a week after the Welsh players, so they'll have a week
yeah.
left in camp. So maybe some of those English players maybe won't be, risked in that first game against Fiji, possibly, and they'll come in for the
It
Australia
will
game.
come back. Yeah,
But I think we'll be strong from the start, and also knowing that we need to win that Fiji game. If we, dare I say it, if we
yeah,
lose the first game of the autumn against Fiji, then those two other games look far more daunting than if we win the game against Fiji, give us momentum straight away to go into the Australia game. Anything we get from that South Africa game is going to be a bonus. I think just again, it's down to performance in that game. If we can push them
yeah,
close and get some sort of performance from it, but those first two games are very winnable games. But if we
yeah.
lose the first one, then the pressure that puts on the Australia game
Oh,
is
yeah.
massive.
It's going to be interesting to see. I think once we've seen the Fiji game, we'll kind of know the lay on the land a little bit more of what the game plan is. But it will be interesting to see. A lot of the questions we've had this week have gone hand in hand with the Welsh squad announcement. And again, thanks, guys. It's the same people who contact week in, week out. And I love having your questions, love having your comments. And we love having that interaction. I know we're all quite busy on Twitter. I stayed, you know, the
Be
block
brave,
buttons are
tough
the
it
block
out.
button's a wonderful thing. Just really disappointed with myself that I called him a twat, if I'm being honest. I let him get to me a little bit,
Could have
but
done a more, yeah, a more ladylike snub would have been better. Could have called you something more ladylike rather than a twat, really. Because
and like I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? Um, but and it's not all staffers. I mean, some of them are all right.
yeah,
Just some of them are, what I think is going to really wind them up as well. Because no, they're all these macho men and they're all like, "Urgh." It's been announced this week that RuPaul is going to South Africa to do a RuPaul's Drag Race. See how
oh,
you get
that's a
on
nice
with that,
diversion.
right? Um, it amused me. I nearly put it in the URC group because no, they all had the kick off about like the LGBTQ and it's not like natural and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, you've obviously got something going on in the water because you've obviously got good enough drag queens to get RuPaul out of America. So
What be what be really funny is to get if we get Rhod to mock up Etzebeth wearing drag or
can you
something.
imagine?
I
I think Sia Khaleesi would be really pretty if I'm being
think you
honest.
might be. Yeah, I think you're right.
And Faf de Klerk with his blonde
With his
blonde
hair,
lock,
yeah.
and he's short as well, so he'll probably be all right. Um, but yeah, a lot of the questions that we've had this week have been around the Welsh squad. One that we had was about the Ospreys needing to get some Cheetahs players on loan to bolster the pack. There was talk that we were going to be able to bring in and loan and move people about. I'd like to see a bit more dynamism with that, maybe. But then again, there's other considerations that we've discussed before about what they would be eligible to play, and where they'd be eligible to play. So I agree, Jake, we need to bolster our pack, but I don't think it's a case of us quickly moving pieces around the chessboard as we think
No,
it
I think tight
might
head
be.
maybe is the one position we need to bring in
Yeah,
somebody in sooner rather than later. I think otherwise, a bit like Friday is giving some of those fringe players an experience. I think, before we start bringing in players from outside the region,
yeah,
it's giving some of those youngsters within our region an opportunity
a
first, maybe.
chance. They're young, and we saw that on Friday. It was a massive step up for some of them.
Yeah.
Um, and you've got to give them the chance to have that option to learn. And again, you're right, we've got no A team structure anymore. So, unless you do that, they're not going to come on. Edward, we had once again a concerning lack of our best players available to us, I think, which we touched on earlier on. We don't know whether some people were out as a result of injury or whether it was as a result of being kept
Yeah, I looked into this a
safe
little
from
bit this
harm.
afternoon. I sort of said to Edward I'd try and find out what I could because I know it was mentioned on a different podcast earlier on in the week as well. There are definitely arrangements in place with the sort of players' union in terms of minutes played
Oh,
across the season.
hello.
Oh, he's back. That was
Yes,
quick.
he's
Hello.
back.
She's got
Back
recovery.
again. Rodri's
She's got
back.
Toad back.
Did he just
Tell
say
us, Brian.
sorry, sorry, stay there? I need to discuss the Welsh squad.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
exactly
Rod's
what I said.
aghast. Threw
And
you
it
in the
went
other side
down.
of a road. Um,
No, she's sorted. She's rescued herself. So
Oh, there we
you've
are.
got to put up with me again.
she's a queen. She's not a princess. She don't need no man on a charger to come and save her. The girl's a warrior.
I mean, she was sounded like a bit of a damsel in distress when she rang me initially.
Probably thinking, my brakes is ground.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
so
but there are definite arrangements in place with the sort of players' union in terms of rest periods. Like after
yeah,
the international window, for example, if they've played in all the games, they get a 3 week automatic rest after that. So, there are definitely limitations in place in terms of minutes played for those international or
yeah,
players of interest to Wales, I think they're called in the sort
players of
of
interest.
paperwork. So,
I love that person's of interest. One of the other questions was my mate Andrew. What do we think of the Welsh squad? We've just said we think it's a pretty interesting mix, with
I
regards
know.
to who's on there. Conspiracy theories again abound regarding Nicky Smith now that he's left Ospreys all of a sudden. But I think we've kind of said he's been superb in the last couple of you know, well, he's been superb for Leicester this season, full stop. Rhod, what's your take on the Welsh squad, my doll?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard you guys chatting, so stop me if I'm just repeating stuff that you've said. But no, not too many surprises. It's probably the squad that I expected to be selected, although I wanted there to be some additional names in there that probably deserve that shot. I'm not too mad about Dan Edwards' exclusion. I think he could do with just another one more season, in the saddle, leading the charge for the Ospreys to just find his confidence, find his form, and then, not go into a Wales squad this year and just get flogged to death by Gatland and do a Sam Costello as a result and have his confidence shocked. I think the player that could probably feel the most aggrieved is probably Ruben Morgan Williams.
That's exactly what we said as
It-
well.
yeah,
We've
especially
said,
with Rodri Williams' selection over him. Not to disparage anything that Rodri Williams has done. He has had a really good start to the season, and he's looked really sort of industrious, hasn't he? Yeah, just a bit unexpected. I thought maybe because Gatland's come out and said things about building a squad for the future that maybe he'd favour the younger up and comer than the player that got his first cap 10 years ago. But again, congrats to him. It's well deserved. Not going to go over Morgan Morris again. I didn't expect him to be selected. Um, one of the interesting conversations I had on social media this in the latter half of this week leading up to recording this pod is whether Morgan Morris could benefit from shifting his position because he's clearly not the eight that Gatland wants, but could he fit somewhere else in the back row, maybe at seven, and make himself a more attractive prospect at international level, especially considering that Tipperick is standing down or standing up, you could say, into the coaching box next season. So could he benefit? Maybe that's something you guys can chip in on. Would he benefit from that
Yeah,
shift?
I think seven's the only place he can go. He isn't big enough for
yeah,
Yeah.
six, so it'll
No.
have to be seven. But then if you look from an international perspective, Jack Morgan and Tommy Reffell potentially have got, those
the
two
dibs on
berths
that. They got that
lined up
title.
probably for the next however
Mm.
many years. So I think even by moving to seven, I don't think that gets Morgan Morris into the Wales squad, unfortunately.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
And you're right,
probably on the same page.
what you said about Dan Edwards as well. We talked about, not only physical resilience with players, but building that mental resilience as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
And being able to cope with the on and off the field antics, because it is a lot of pressure. You know,
Mm.
everybody in Wales has got an opinion
Mm.
on rugby. Well, most people in Wales have got an opinion on rugby. And to be fair, there are some people out there who will go up and be like, listen now, love.
Mm.
Um, and it's a fishbowl. Everybody knows everybody else's mum, dad, whatever. Um, and I think again, yeah, it's about building mental resilience now. And kind of what we said, Rod, is we're wondering with the Fiji game being first then against Australia and then South Africa, the South African squad looks scary.
Mhm.
You missed us talking about Drag Race South Africa because that's been announced this week, which I probably is gonna, make the South African fans happy. We did wonder if you could Photoshop a picture of Etaba in full on drag and put her in the USC group and kind of drop the mic and go,
Do you
Um,
know what that sounds a job for? That sounds like a job for an AI photo generator because
it
they could
does,
do
doesn't
that much
it?
better than me. I'll
It
see
does.
I'll see what I can come up with on
Have a
that
go.
front.
Trifecta clerk for me as well.
Oh, that would be
Because
good.
that man
Yeah.
has got hair that's too good for a man. It really annoys me.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we thought. We thought Fiji's going to be bruising. Are we going to use that to perhaps blood some players, or are we going to hit the ground running?
Mm.
And we thought it would be quite interesting to see what happens and what the game plan is after that Fiji game. I think it's going to be an exciting 3 games. Um, Perhaps not in the way that we anticipate it to be, but we love it when the Aussies and the Saffers roll into town and the Fijians just come and be man mountains, really, don't they? But yeah, interesting autumn international series ahead. It feels weird having 3 games instead of 4, because
Yeah.
normally we've got that fourth game within that window, haven't we?
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of it for the Welsh squad and the questions that we had. And again, keep contacting us on social media. We love a bit of a chat, and we've all been quite active on there. If we can say hello to Nick Williams as well from Twitter, we've had some good chats with him in the last week and talking about squads and players and everything else. Um, so I suppose it's time for the random question of the week. Are we ready?
Never. We're
Every
never
week.
ready for what you bring, Sam.
Every
Yeah.
week you just like Rod's like, what the fuck no.
Yeah,
Um,
before the episode, I always sort of think about messaging, go, okay, what's the question so I can prep? But I think
no,
that takes the fun out of it. Um,
absolutely takes the fun out of it. Now we're heading into Halloween. Saturday is Halloween weekend, and I know technically we've got another podcast before Halloween, but I've always I love horror. We know I love horror, and I'm often left thinking, A, would I survive a zombie apocalypse? Yes, I would. B, would I survive a serial killer in a house? Yeah, I would, because I'm not stupid enough to go into the basement or anywhere without a knife or, a baseball bat. But putting the shoe on the other foot, would I be a werewolf or would I be a vampire? Which one would I choose?
hmm.
So which one would you be, a vampire or a werewolf? Because you get bitten by both. but both have got very different qualities.
I used to be deeply scared of werewolves growing up, and I'm not a fearful person, but I watching Harry Potter growing up with
Professor
Lupin,
Lupin
that naked werewolf absolutely freaked me out growing up. Probably saw it when I was maybe a bit too young, and that thing haunted my nightmares. And then on the back of that, we went on a school trip to Margam Park,
I love
and
Markham.
we spent the night there, and we were up in, one of the big turrets on the side of the building, this old
It's
manor
so
house.
haunted, it's unreal.
And I had a dream. Well, it wasn't real. I thought it was real, where I got up to the window, opened the window, and saw a werewolf running across the horizon, turn towards the building, and start climbing up the wall. I slammed the window down and woke people up in the room, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I was like,
Have
"There's
you
a
had
werewolf."
mushrooms for tea?
I was about 7 or 8, Sam.
All right, maybe too young. Maybe too young for that.
So in reality, I slammed that window down, so I don't know what I was seeing. I was having some crazy hallucination. Maybe there was just a dog on the loose, and my brain edited in the scary bits. I
The
don't know.
Beast of Margam,
Yeah.
possibly. So would you be a werewolf then?
Do you know what? I think I would. I think
Okie
I would. I like
dokie.
I like the more animalistic thing rather than the
You've seen
creepy
American Werewolf in
pale.
London.
Yeah.
No.
Such a good film. So
What would you
good.
be, Mark?
I'm going to overthink this one now. So just to clarify, how often does a werewolf become a werewolf? Is it only full moon?
It's the lunar moon cycle full moon, yeah.
Right. So in that case, you're only going to be a werewolf once a month, aren't you?
Mm.
Mm,
Rest of the time, you can just live a normal life. Whereas if
mm,
you're a vampire 24/7,
Mm.
mm.
sleep all day, get up all night when everybody
Fight
else.
all night.
So
Yeah.
I would say werewolf because you can live a normal life and then, you know,
Except for waking up naked once a
well,
month
yeah, that bit.
in the middle of nowhere.
Let's just say I don't do that on a weekend anyway, Rod. So.
Don't tell his
Oh,
wife.
fair.
No, but I think you can have a normal life and just have one day a month where you go a bit nuts. And otherwise, yeah. So I'd go werewolf as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Are we all, what about
You,
you, Sam? Are we all going the same?
no, I'd be a vampire.
why?
Don't like people. Don't like daylight. Um, yeah, I'm always cold. Um, but if I was going to be a vampire, I want to be a blade vampire. Like I want to be a or what's her face from Underworld, like proper kick-ass vampire. I'd want to be. None of this sparkle, walk around in daylight shit. Like
Mhm.
as much as I love Twilight, I am a twihard. Um, you know, I'm not one of these who thinks walk around in the day or have a magic ring like on Vampire Diaries. Um, yeah, I think I'd be a vampire.
But can I make another
Absolutely.
technical point? I mean, so it's obviously the light of a full moon, but in the films, it's always when the direct light is shining on the person who's about to become a werewolf.
Yeah.
So in Wales, you don't have to worry for 6 months this year. You don't see the sun or the moon. It's cloudy. You'll be
Don't
fine.
worry, you won't need to get out of your cocoon. It's fine. Um, yeah, no, I quite like I do like the vampire trope, if I'm being honest.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
If it comes
Blade.
with a castle, I choose vampire.
Yeah, it'd be a bit. Talking of vampires, though, have you seen the vampire film with Jamie Foxx on Netflix with
No.
the cameo from Snoop Dogg?
No.
That sounds.
Oh my God, it is amazing. It is so good. But yeah, I definitely think I would want to be a vampire. Um, yeah,
Choice.
I'm not even that averse to having a bit of blood, really. Like, if that's what it is, it's.
You get used to it, wouldn't you? You get
Yeah,
used to it.
Yeah.
it's just a diet
Like
in it.
anything.
Like anything. But I am 100% absolutely convinced that I would survive a zombie apocalypse. I watch so many
That's
zombie films, I know exactly what I would do. I've got a plan
that's
and
the funner
everything.
question. We should get into that on another
Yeah.
episode because
We'll
I
ask
do
that
like that
next week.
question.
What would you
Hmm.
what will you do with a zombie apocalypse? Like,
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
John knows things.
Oh, I
So,
got a
you
plan.
know, I got a plan. Got a plan. Go to the Winchester, have a pint, wait for all of this to blow over.
Yeah.
I even, when my Westie was alive, I even had a bag that I could put my Westie in that
Yeah.
she would fit in so she could put her little arms out. Because I was like, she wouldn't be able to run away from zombies. Like Lottie's fine, she can run all day, every day as a sprocker. But Tinkerbell only had little legs. So I was
Mm.
like, John, I've even got a bag for the dog. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, I've just thought about it. I think you're naive not to doomsday prep. Like when COVID came, I
Mm.
genuinely thought the zombie apocalypse was going to happen. And I've never been so disappointed in my life. I was like, where are the zombies? Waited all my
Going,
life for
going to
this.
sleep and wanting to wake up as if it's 30 days later.
Yeah, I love
For
it.
wandering around the streets
Well,
looking for.
28 years later, it's coming with Cillian Murphy. So, I'm ready for it. It's coming next
Mm.
year. I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
But as always, another interesting episode. Actually, I'm not going to do zombies next week because you'll know what to expect and you'll prepare an answer.
Oh,
And that's not the point of Sam's random questions.
disappointing.
So we'll save that, but come up with a plan. I want diagrams, the whole shebang. I want a full on, proper prepared plan.
You think I'm telling you my plan?
Listen, do you think I'm telling you mine? Because I'm not being funny. No, I'm going to survive. You may not survive. I've
And I
always
haven't got a
said in the
plan, so I'm going to be coming after you as a
you're
zombie. So.
screwed, yeah. I always say in the gym, like when we got to do our, hang me off a bar, get me lifting weights, get me on a machine or whatever. Not so good when they make me run because I'm not being funny. I'm fat. I got bad knees. So when I'm running, I'm like thing, and I always say to them in the gym, look, if you ever see me running, it's not that I'm running away from something. I am running away from something. It's just that I don't think I can kill that. Because if I think I could stop and kill it, I wouldn't be running. I'd stop and kill it. If I'm running, it genuinely means be afraid of what's behind me, like follow, you know?
Just
But
need a good D. Defense is the best attack. Good defense.
100%. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Absolutely. So have a fantastic week, guys. I'm sure we will reconvene. WhatsApp, Twitter, you know, Insta, the usual channels. Rhod will put a banner up with all our socials. Keep on getting in contact with us. Rhod, I will see you on Saturday with either high five in happiness or we will throw ourselves in the river in Bridgend, maybe.
Depending on
I
how the
can't
game
swim,
goes.
so I'm screwed either
Yeah.
way. But have a cracking weekend, everybody. Usual, like, comment, subscribe, get in contact, and have a wonderful week, everyone. I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Cheers all.